I am Vinnie Tortorich. Folks, your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed. Yeah.
Can I say, Vinny, that from that video, there is zero chance I ever would have guessed that song for something like Name That Tune, right? I would immediately be kicked off because there is no way I would have guessed that is the song that comes after the 1.5-minute long talking intro to that music video.
Yeah. I was trying to find the song before we started the podcast, and it was like, oh my God, this is when MTV, this was like in the heyday of MTV. There was a moment when Huey Lewis was the biggest star in the world, right? There was only one guy that was bigger. He was this Caribbean singer, and I can't think of his name right now, but it'll come to me before the end of the show.
Bob Marley?
No. Billy Ocean. I want to say Billy Ocean. It was like there was a moment in the early 80s where it was Billy Ocean, Sting, and Huey Lewis, and good luck hearing anything else. Period. Yeah, we came out of disco and we went headlong into that crap. I was happy when hair bands started. Happy. It was like, wait, Warrant? Okay, I'll take them.
A little less. Something a bit harder, right? Less 50s, bebop. Not bebop. What's the...
It was beboppy. It was bubblegummy. Yeah. It was... And everybody in all of these videos, they were on a beach somewhere wearing pastels because, let's face it, nobody was hotter than the guys on Miami Vice, right? Tubbs and Crockett, they were hot.
Need to get me an oversized suit jacket and bunch up the sleeves. That's what I need to do.
Whatever you do, do not hand me socks because I'm throwing these Italian loafers on. Al Dante. Yeah, no socks.
In Miami, mind you.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's 95% humidity all the time. Let's get those feet in some shoes with nothing in between.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we are not going to wear socks no matter what. We're going to put feet in leather and we're just going to let that bacteria build up. Yeah.
I was thinking doo-wop, not bebop. Doo-wop is what I was going for.
It got real doo-woppy.
Yeah.
By the way, Serena played the wife of who was the guy? Who was the actor in Miami Vice? Can't think of
which one.
The one of the two cops.
Don Johnson.
Serena played Don Johnson's wife in his next thing. That was one of her TV roles. I don't know what the show was called because I've never seen it. If Serena walks down here, she was down here a little while ago, I'll ask.
Well, how long it was around for? I can probably find it on his. Yeah.
Don't know.
Miami Vice was on until 1990?
Oh, Miami Vice had a run. They had a run, brother. And Wellcraft Scarabs and Donzi boats and all that got real popular for a while. And, Ferraris, they had the Ferrari Daytona in that show or a replica thereof. I'm sure they didn't give Don Johnson a real Daytona. Those things are millions of dollars.
Just to watch him destroy it for a TV show.
Yeah, they destroyed it every other week. Somehow it came back looking good. So basically they would take Corvettes and, Corvette.
Oh, Nash Bridges. Van.
Yeah.
That's what you're thinking of, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. He was in that, right? And I think Serena was in that.
Well, you know who else was in that, right?
No idea.
The real reason to watch that show. Cheech Marin.
Really?
Yeah, wasn't it? I vaguely remember Nash Bridges, but wasn't it a buddy cop comedy show?
I never saw it. You understand? I've seen very little of what my wife has been in. She was always the wife. She was Bruce Willis's wife in Hostage. Never seen it.
It's good. She's not in it much. I seem to remember that they kind of vaguely allude to the fact that he has a wife.
Yeah, and she's in like 2 or 3 scenes. Apparently, she was on the set and she shot for several days. Like, several days on a set means you're in the movie a lot if you're on the set for like 7 or 8, 10 days. Because movies wrap in about 21, 22 days of shooting. And they cut most of her scenes. And it wasn't that she didn't do great scenes. They just took the movie in a different direction. They showed the wife and the kids at the beginning. They showed the wife and the kids apparently at the end. But the rest of the time, you don't see the wife and kids. They're talked about, which is weird because I'm pretty sure they paid Serena a lot of money to be in like 3 scenes.
If I remember, it originally, and it's based on a book. The book is not the same style as the movie. So I think in the book, the wife plays a much bigger role. But in the movie, if I remember, it's more of like it's less action and more suspense, if I remember correctly. So it's like, what was the like Safe Room? Did you ever see Safe Room? Right. No. The guy's like locked in there, or Phone Booth, right? It's all suspense all the time.
Phone Booth, right? So here's the deal. Yeah. And there's 2 ways to tell a story. Either you let the audience see the bomb under the chair that the person's tied to, or you don't let them see the bomb and then the bomb goes off, right? So you can either build the suspense of letting the audience know something or not showing it to them and let something else happen. And they shot the movie one way and edited it. They just decided to go in a completely different direction, kind of like Jaws. The shark was supposed to be in Jaws a hell of a lot more, but the shark didn't work, right? The mechanical shark they built for the movie didn't work, but they were able just to show the fin every now and again. So the whole movie was building up suspense of boo, boop, boo, boop, boo, boop, 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 da, da, da. That was the whole movie, right? And then they figured, let's show the barrels popping up and the barrels, the shark pulling it down. But you never saw the shark, right?
Okay. So you mentioned Jaws. I was having a conversation a couple weeks ago, and I said, do they make new movies anymore? Michelle and I walked past the movie theater and looked at what was playing, and everything had a 2 or a 14 behind it. And then I remembered the mid to late 80s, right? Rocky 4. Right. Jaws 17. Right. What's the Tremors 2, Tremors 3, right? Like this is not a new thing. It just seems to come in waves, but it's insanity.
We have something important to talk about that, getting stuck, right? I didn't mean to go off.
Just like Hollywood gets stuck making sequels. Did you see that segue, Vinnie?
No. You know why? I'll tell you real quickly why it happens. No one wants to get fired. Right. No one wants to take a chance on something new, and they want to keep their job. They change those execs pretty quickly. You have one bad movie, you're out. They bring the next one in. So these guys are trying to sit in that seat for as long as they can. So you're going to see, Batman, Batman 2, Batman 3, The Return of Batman, Batman's Kid. You're going to see the same characters over and over and over. Anyway, getting stuck. Right. It's funny. We talked about doing this show last week, and I got a frantic text from my next door neighbor. Let's call him Rob, because that's his name. And Rob goes, "Hey man, my son who goes to UVA, Gus, they threw this thing at him and said they have to talk to entrepreneurs. And he's got to do this thing." I'm pretty sure Gus, they didn't just throw it at him. I'm pretty sure Gus let this one slip by. And then he had to do these reports on entrepreneurs. And that's why I got the call, right? I'm a guy that's never had a regular job, so to speak. I sold cars in college. I drove a dump truck for a minute. I worked in a couple of construction sites in the summer, what have you. But whenever I started getting a regular job, I've never had a regular job. And by definition, I guess you would call me an entrepreneur, right? I didn't even know what the word meant the first time I heard it. Entree, okay. I enter what? I enter into what? Right?
Preneurism, obviously.
Right. And I don't speak German. So I guess by dint, I became an entrepreneur, right? So now someone's going to call me and interview me on being that guy. And I didn't even feel like Gus was asking me the right questions, right? They gave him certain questions that you had to ask. I could tell he was reading them off of a sheet and writing down my answers. And a couple of times I said, Gus, I'm going to give you something that you didn't ask me, but I'm going to tell you anyway. The only way to be successful at what I do is to be a self-starter, right? You have to self-start. No one's going to tell you what time to wake up in the morning. You got to get up. No one's going to tell you what time to go to bed. You got to go to bed at a reasonable time so that you can get up and be fresh in the morning, right? Now, you might go, well, Vinnie, those are two pretty simple things. But also to be an entrepreneur like me, who I trade on keeping people healthy, I also have to look healthy. And you don't want to just look healthy, you want to be healthy. Proof of concept. Over the years, I've done ultra events. Matter of fact, I did 20 years worth of that. I've rock climbed, I've climbed glaciers, I've, done this, that, and the whole thing. I'm 62 and I'm learning new sports. Last summer, I learned how to row, right? Not as easy as you would think, because those things are very tippy, right? So you have to learn balance and you have to learn technique. And it's not just like getting on a row machine and hammering, right? You got to learn how to do this, right? I learned how to build a kayak. I learned how to do things with my hands. These are all things that entrepreneurs have to do all the time, right? And these are the things I was trying to tell Gus. I said, Gus, how many other entrepreneurs did you talk to today? He said, a few. I said, did any one of them talk to you about failure? And he goes, funny enough, every one of you guys bring it up. I said, there you go, Gus. That's all you need to know about being a self-starter, being an entrepreneur, being someone that wants to work for yourself. You got to get really, really comfortable with failure, because you're going to fail almost every time. And then now you're going to ask, how do you make money? How do you succeed? Right? Because at the end of the day, you got to make money. If you don't make money, you don't have a roof over your head. You can't feed yourself. So money is very important, right? It's how we trade. It's how we get things. We don't go out and hunt for food. We don't build a thatched roof. We hire a guy to come put a roof with shingles and what have you, right? In order to hire that guy, you have to have money so that you don't have to go build a thatched roof yourself like they would in a third world country. We go to the store and we buy beef. You don't have to, whittle out a bow and an arrow and go shoot meat like we used to. We used to do it all ourselves. Now we have something we barter with. Money. Right? So that's what it is. You're paying for other people to do things for you so that you can do things for other people. It's how we work. But if you're not going to go work for the man and you want to be the man, when you become the man, you're also the man who has to tell you what to do every day. Sounds like a country song I'm coming up with, but it's very important, right? So I got to look a certain way, which means every day I got to do something. I have to have a certain amount of fitness. It's a Sunday. We're recording this on 2/2/25. I woke up this morning and did 45 minutes on a rowing machine and 30 minutes on my Echo bike, all zone 2. Right? Why? Sunday? Come on, Vinnie, take a day off. My body doesn't know it's Sunday. At some point this year, I got to go climb a mountain. I better well have an amount of aerobic fitness. we're going to talk about this at the end of the show, but I spent 2 days shooting because I'm putting together these fitness videos that we're going to give to people on the VIP group, and we're going to sell it to everyone else. 2 long days of shooting. What was I doing the entire time? I was lifting weights. Now, when you see the videos, you're going to go, oh, Vin, you only threw a 10 on each side and this and that. Do it over and over and over again. Do every exercise that you're going to do over and over and over again. When the guy goes, let me get a different angle. Let's do it again. Now let me get a slow motion angle. Let's do it again. Do that for 7 hours. I did a 7-hour workout over and over and over. The next morning I woke up and we did another, let's call it 3. That was yesterday. So Friday and Saturday. You don't take Sunday off, right? My body doesn't know it's Sunday because tomorrow is leg day. It just goes on and on and on, right? Because I have to be the guy, if I'm going to tell you to be in shape, I better be in shape. I better look a certain way. I should be able to do a certain thing. I want to look down at my heartbeat in the morning. I'm sitting here in this 58. I'm sitting in this 58 right now. If I was laying flat, it would be somewhere in the early 40s, right? That's important. The commitment to put more muscle on in my 60s, it's important, right? I have to stay unstuck. That's my commitment, is to stay unstuck, to keep moving. And I'm asking you guys to do the same thing, right? We could get so bogged down in detail and do nothing. And that happens all the time. We get stuck with detail. What do they call it now? Analysis paralysis. Then what's the right weightlifting? Well, I'm getting ready to give you the right weightlifting program because people have been asking me for years. What's the right way to do this? I want to start riding my indoor bike, but. Yeah, butters. If I had a nickel for every yeah, but I hear during the week, I'd have a lot of nickels, Chris. A lot of nickels. I talk to people 5 days a week. And when they start with the yeah, buts, I shut them down. Like, listen, we can all yeah, but ourselves into the grave. Right? And look, more power to you. If you want to have that life, knock yourself out. If you want to waste a perfectly good life and do nothing and sit on your ass and watch television and go, you know what, this is good enough for me, I'm happy for you. We're in America, man. It's a free country. Do what the hell you want. But I'm telling you, you're going to have a more fulfilling life. You're going to have more time for your kids and your grandkids and be able to do things. If you get off your ass and just figure anything out. I've already started my model train. Chris, have you seen my model train?
I haven't. We've talked about it, but I haven't seen it yet.
You should see what's going on. Serena even came down. She started, you got to make the tracks look antiquated. Now you got to paint on them and the whole thing. We're busy painting with little tiny brushes. Looks like it's got like 3 little brush hairs on it. Just sitting there, it's tiny. It's like trying to build a ship in a bottle, it feels like. Ooh, let me write that down. That might be next year.
I can tell you right now, I do not have the patience for that.
I'm not doing
Dude, you remember the scene from The Patriot with Mel Gibson trying to build the rocking chair?
I never saw that movie.
You should see it.
The Patriot?
Yeah. Not historically accurate, but a very good movie. But he's trying over and over again to build a rocking chair. That would be, and the whole barn is filled with rocking chair parts because every time it screws up, he just slams it against the wall and starts over. That would be me with a ship in a bottle, right? Just over and over and over again. Just going, no, I broke the bottle. Awesome. Let's start from scratch.
With my digital dexterity and my the amount of the Duperdrins I have in my hands, even though you can still see it. I mean, it's not going away. And my ship in the bottle days have gone past. But this, I've always wanted to do the train from scratch, where you do all the little pieces and all the little things, right? The funny thing about the train is I'm learning it's very little to do with the train. It's about everything else. I'm working with spackle and I'm working with this and that, but I'm learning something just like I learned with the kayak, right? And part of my New Year's resolution, put on more muscle. I'm in the gym doing that. Another resolution was in the first quarter of this year, we're going to put out a group of fitness videos, right? And Chris, I want to talk to you in real time about this because you and I do everything together. So here's what I'm going to put out from the get-go. And you tell me if you like this idea or not. Okay? And folks, let me know on the Twitter or wherever you get in touch with me. You can write to Vinnie at Vinnie. Is it Vinnie at VinnieTortorich.com? You could drive Debbie nuts over there. Send her cards and letters. She'll let me know. But here's what, so I'm doing 4 workouts from the get-go. So when we release this, there will be 4 workouts. And they will all 4 give you very similar results. I'm going to have a 6-day routine. I'm going to have a 4-day routine and a 2-day routine. Okay? All will give you very similar results depending on how you're going to do it. These all work. These are all tried and true routines. These are the routines, the type of routines I would use with my clients, depending on if I had an actress that was on a show, like a big show where they're, she's there 3 days a week and the whole thing. She's got kids at home and whatever. And I had 2 days a week, that routine is going to be there. If I had someone who was more of a movie star type or a rock star where they're on the road sometimes or they're doing a movie sometime and then they're, sitting home waiting for the phone to ring again, those guys will get 4-day routines or 6-day routines, depending on what kind of time they had. I'm putting together those routines for you guys. Just a reasonable facsimile, of those routines. But I said there's 4 routines. So the 4th one I'm putting together, Chris, you're going to love this. If all you have is a rickety bench and dumbbells, I did not say you need a pull-up bar. I did not say you needed a barbell. The only thing you may have to buy are bigger dumbbells. And you could go into Facebook Marketplace and buy dumbbells the live long day, or go, if you live in a big enough city, there's going to have a Play It Against Sports or something, or you're going to have if you just talk to all of your friends, especially if their kids went off to college, and you say, hey, you got any dumbbells hanging around? Trust me, they will have them. These things are ubiquitous. You can get them anywhere, right? So all you need is a rickety bench that's not going to fall apart and a dumbbell. I did a whole routine on that, right? So there's 4 routines. Here's what I'm thinking of doing. So if you're in the VIP group, you could pick any of the routines and you get them with your VIP membership. You think that's a good idea, Chris?
I think it makes perfect sense. So to clarify, the 2-day, 4-day, and 6-day routines, they're all just different variations of the same thing depending on how much time you have.
It's different ways to skin the cat, right?
The equipment list one, or no gym needed, I guess is where we're going with that, right? The do it anywhere routine, it's essentially the same version, but with none of the equipment, right? A bench or a table, something that is stable for them, and barbell, dumbbells or kettlebells, right?
Right.
So it's as many different ways as we can, to use your words, skin the cat as possible. Right. Yeah. That to me makes perfect sense in the context of this conversation, because getting stuck in terms of the fitness side of this means moving forward, doing something. Right. And if you don't know what direction to go in, you don't know what you should be doing in the gym, or you can't get to the gym 4 days a week. The excuse is, well, I can't go 4 days a week. So now what do I do? Well, you don't have that excuse now because you have the 2-day version. You don't have a gym near you, or you're stuck in a hotel for the week. Here's how you can do that at the hotel, the crappy gym at the hotel, or using some of the things that you can find there. That to me makes perfect sense because it takes you from a place of having that excuse and it now eliminates that excuse. Right. On the fitness side of this. Now, we can't stand there and make you do it, but we can give you the tools to be able to do that. So to me, that makes perfect sense. And it's something that gives you the flexibility that people need to get around that resistance to say, well, it's not the perfect thing for me, right? It doesn't fit into my schedule. Well, if you can't make one of those work, you're really not trying. Yeah, right? Like, let's be honest about it.
So, all right. So, Chris, these are all coming out of the phone calls. I've been doing the phone calls now for about 12 years. And some people, they'll call and say, hey, just give me a fit. I've been writing these for people over the years, and they're very dynamic, these routines, right? And some people go, yeah, I want to work out like Kurt Lapierre. I put him on a 6-day routine, right? I'm just using Kurt as an example. There are other people who, look, I don't have 6 days a week, but I can commit to 4. Believe it or not, these are usually, I get a lot of stay-at-home moms, but they got to pick up the kids by this time, and they also have part-time jobs or a side gig or something like that, a side hustle, but they can commit to 4 days a week. So I have that, and then I have the people, the 2-day a week. I think the program that's going to sell the most is the home. All I have is a rickety bench and dumbbells. The Jen Mendicas of the world, right? I'm using her because she's an example we use on the show all the time. Well, she's got a gym where she works, but she's also done the home version of that. I talk to a lot of people in the Midwest, or people that live in Montana or Wyoming or Kansas, like out in the middle of Kansas, somewhere on the farm, right? And they'll say, no, we don't have a town within X number of miles. It would be, I could get, they'll say, well, I could get to the town, but it's like 40 minutes in one direction, 40 minutes back. And by the time, my kids are home from school or whatever, that's why I think that program is going to sell the most, right? Because people just don't have the time to go to the gym. And if that one does sell the most, I will do a 5th one where I will say, okay, people like this one, but they want more. They want to add a barbell in. So eventually I'm going to do, if people like that one, I'm going to do it where I add a barbell in and a pull-up bar that you can buy for, give or take, $40 on Amazon. As a matter of fact, I bought one of those when I was living in my house before we had this house during the pandemic. They shut my gym down. And I think I told people I was doing pull-ups because they were building a church down the street, and they had, a backhoe. Do you know this story, Chris?
No, I don't.
So there was a backhoe. So one day when I went out for my walk jog, it was freezing cold that day. The guy working the backhoe, I stopped him and I said, hey, man, you do me a favor? He goes, yeah, what do you need? I said, when you're done today, can you curl the backhoe, can you curl that bucket in and put it about 7 feet off the ground? He goes, yeah, I can do it. But why? I said, because, the pandemic, my gym shut down and I walk right past you every day. And I'd like to grab 2 or 3 sets of pull-ups. The guy started laughing his ass off. But the next day when I went out there, the backhoe was up 7 feet off the ground. And as a matter of fact, a few days later, he did it every day for me. Whenever I'd pass by, he would do this. When he was on the backhoe, he would pretend to do pull-ups, and I would give him the thumbs up. And at some point, the backhoe went away, right? They were done backhoeing at that church. So I just went on Amazon, got one of those things, so it doesn't scrape up your door. It hooks underneath, and it hangs, and it's pretty sturdy. And from there, you can add a TRX. So I'll probably, look, if you're going to do the hang it from the door thing, we can also do the TRX. So if these workouts do well, I'm going to do other versions of them. Right? Here's what I'm thinking, Chris, and I've gone on the internet, and maybe you have too. And I've looked at pricing on what people are charging for these workouts. And I see two things. Like I saw a thing where these guys go, there was this guy, and I get what they're doing. It's a sales pitch. I'm not going to call them jerks or assholes or whatever. And they claim to be big Hollywood trainers, except I had never heard of them. And I was in Hollywood for 30 years. And they were like, if you don't make $150,000 a year, don't even sign up for what we're doing here, because we're charging so much that you can't afford it. Like that's their sales pitch, right? Of course, everyone who doesn't make $150,000 a year is going to also go buy this because they think this is what the Kardashians or Taylor Swift is doing, right? I don't know what they charge for their thing, but I'm guessing that they charge a lot of money. And they're claiming that, listen, this is not for everybody. If you're serious about getting in shape, it looks like you're looking for it. Are you looking it up, Chris? Chris is not.
I don't know which one you're talking about specifically, but
one of them is like, hey, if you don't make at least 150,000, don't even read the rest of this ad. So you know that they're going to charge a lot of money for that, right? Apparently, they're saying that when you're serious, you want to use their method. And I'm sure they're charging $1,500, maybe $2,000 for some crazy thing. And you probably get some coach on the phone once or twice for that or whatever, right? I'm not going to do that. And other than the VIP group, I'm not giving it away. And Chris, I'm not there yet with what I'm going to charge, but I know what this is going to look like. I got a videographer from New York, top guy. I didn't shoot this on an iPhone. I got a top guy in. We shot this thing from each exercise from many angles. And I told him what I planned on doing. So what you're going to get with your program is you're going to get one video that just shows all of the exercises, like all of them, right? So it's just, this is not a routine. These are just all of the exercises. If you don't know how to do something, go to this video, find the exercise, watch it, and you'll know how to do it. Along with that, for the same price, you will get a second video of the routine. So some people like to bring their cell phones, or I've seen people with laptops in the gym. It'll say, okay, this is the routine, and it'll show you the first exercise, second, third, fourth. And the third thing you're going to get with your routine is a digital printout of the exercises, because some people just want to bring that to the gym, and you can chart it, right? We'll give them a chart so they can fill in to keep track, right? If they want to make more Xerox copies of that, they can, right? So you're going to get three things: a thing that shows you, a video that shows you the exercises, a video that shows you the routine, and the routine written down on paper. Now, I've asked 5 or 6 people, non-professional, like people not in the business. I've gotten everything from, you can charge $40 per routine up to, that's $150 worth of routine, all the way up to, you can charge whatever you want. That sounds great. Let me give you my initial thoughts, Chris, and I want yours, because we haven't talked about this yet. I'm thinking, since I'm doing 4 routines, you can buy each routine for $40, something like 40. I'm thinking 40, 50, maybe 35. I don't know. So you can buy the 6-day routine for 40, or you could buy the 4-day routine for 40, or the 2-day for 40, or the in-home version 40. Or you can buy all 4, or maybe 3 of the 4, right? If you want to, if you're doing the at-home thing, you just buy that for 40, right? You know you're not going anywhere. So maybe you could buy each routine for 40. If you bought all 3, that would be what, $120? We'll sell you all 3 for 75 or 80, big discount. something like that. What? Any thoughts?
So the thought that I have here, Vinny, is I'm curious why we would break those up, other than maybe the in-home one. Because if it's different flavors of essentially the same thing, we could put it together and just say, look, if you're in this place right now, you have 6 days a week to go to the gym, use this. When you don't, use the fourth thing, or the 4-day one, or the 2-day one. So I'm curious where your head is with that. And I'm curious what people think about that, because then they don't have to commit up front to saying, I'm definitely going to go 6 days a week, right, or I'm definitely going to go 2 days a week. Right. Because the thing that people have to understand with that is, obviously, if you're going 2 days and you're trying to get the same results, then that is going to be a much more intense workout. So that might not be right for you up front. So I'm curious, and I'm hoping people will let you know on Twitter what their thoughts are on that. But it may be better just to kind of lead with the bundle. And then if somebody says, no, I'm a 2-day-a-week gym goer, then yeah, they can have that one. But to get kind of everything bundled together, to me, I think makes the most sense, just listening to you go through that. Because then as people's lives change, which we know that they do, right? Maybe you're working from home like most people were during 2020.
All right, right? I get where you're coming from. Mm-hmm. But let me be devil's advocate here and then ask you a question. Because some people are on a budget. They're like, I don't want to pay $75 or $80 for the 3 routines. I know I'm going to be a 4-day-a-week guy. By the way, folks, there is no mixing and matching. You can't say, well, some days I'll do the 4-day-a-week thing. Some days I'll do the 2. They don't coincide, right? So whichever routine you're on, you stay on. Or if you want to switch to a different routine, then you can switch to that, but you got to stop the other routine. You can't mix and match during the week. It just doesn't work that way. And
right, but you could from one week to another, though, right? So if
you could,
if you're travel, let's say you travel every 3 weeks or whatever. When you're home, you can probably bang out the 2-day routine. But if you're traveling, maybe you need the other version.
Or vice versa. I mean, I can make an argument that if you're doing the 4-day routine, now you're going to be on the road for 2 weeks, that you could do the 2-day routine to tide you over. Some people, it's just not in their budget to spend $80. So I want to offer them, hey, if you think you're going to just use the 6-day routine, then just spend the $40. Is there some way digitally that we can know about that person if they come back and go, you know what, if they do it within the first 30 days, this is not for me. I want to do the 4-day routine. Can I buy the 3? Can we somehow digitally know who those people are and because I don't want to screw people out of money. But I need to.
We can track all of that.
Hey, if you could track it and go, okay, if you do it within 30, you thought you were going to use the 6. Within 30 days, like you're on day 28 and you go, you know what? I really need to do the 2-day-a-week routine. We can then sell them the rest of the program, give them all 3 for $80.
And I would say, I think the other thing works there as well.
Wait, Chris, for 80 total, meaning they will give us another 40. I don't mean they can now give us 80. You've paid 40 up front, give us the other 40 and you're good. Give them a 30.
The other way that can work, and I'm curious, I'd love cards and letters on this from people.
Yeah.
The other way that would work is, you get in, let's say they grab just the 2-day routine. They realize 2 weeks in that that's way too intense for them. We can swap that for anything as long as they're, the same price. So I think that's doable. It's customer service on the back end, but that's easy, right? It's a couple clicks of a button. And if somebody has a change of heart or they realize that it's just not the right thing for them, then we can just move what they have access to.
Right. But what we will do is got to be, we can't let that linger on for months, right?
You would have to put a clock on it.
Yeah, you got to put 30 days. If you don't know what's going on in 30 days, then it's not my fault. And I don't think anyone else would give that kind of grace period, but I just want to make sure people end up. As you know, I'm trying to promote fitness. I'm not trying to get, you're stuck with it. You're going back to being stuck. Huey Lewis. You know, I don't want people to feel like, oh, Vinnie sold me this, now I'm stuck with it. I want to give them options to go try something else, if that makes any sense. Right? And you know
It
what?
does.
We're doing VIP group tonight. We can ask in the VIP group and see what they have to say about it. So I'm going to bring up these same numbers. By the way, these numbers are just something I pulled out of my ass, to be honest with you. So I'm going to pull.
Yeah, if you ever wondered how people come up with pricing, that's pretty much it.
All right, so I'm going to put 40. I said $40, right?
Mm-hmm.
For one, and then 80 for all three. And we'll keep the other one, since it's so different than the three, it's going to always just be $40, no matter what. Right? So yeah. Yeah. There you have it. There you have it.
So, Vinnie, we're talking about getting unstuck. If somebody feels stuck, other than saying just do something, is there a way that they can start to get unstuck? The real answer is you have to start moving down that path, right? And I think that's why on the fitness side of the health and fitness equation, you've always talked about going to the gym, right? Give yourself permission to leave, but you have to at least show up to go to the gym. And that's great for the fitness side of this. But if somebody's stuck on the health side of this, whether it's, what they're actually eating or they're just not feeling right, is there a similar piece of advice on the overall health side of this that you can give to people to help get them unstuck?
You know what happens when people start a fitness routine? You notice the first thing that they hear in their head? They hear this. They need to wake up on the first morning, go to the gym, before they go to the gym, drink raw eggs, start this crazy fucking thing. Like, ever since 1976, whenever we go, I'm starting on this day, I'm starting on that day. That's January 1st. Everybody, they drink the proverbial raw eggs, and they put on their gray sweats and their high top tennis shoes, and they become Rocky in their head. We've all done that our entire life, right? The fact of the matter is, it doesn't have to be that. My brother Mark tells me the other day, he goes, I kept telling Mark, you got a spinner. I put it right in front of his television. Mark, get on the spinner. Get on the spinner. Hey, Mark, 5 minutes. Just 5. When I was down there at Thanksgiving, I said, Mark, come on. I'm sitting right here. You just give me 5 minutes. And he gave me 10 minutes, right? And I got him to do it the next day. Guess what he did as soon as I left? He quit doing it. But he called me up the other day, and he goes, I did 10 minutes, 3 days in a row. So he goes, as a matter of fact, I did 10 minutes, 11 minutes, and then 12 minutes. And I said, well, Mark, that's good. He goes, yeah, I'm going to do an extra minute every day for the rest of the year. I said, you realize by the end of the year, you're going to be doing close to 6 hours, 365 minutes, right? And he goes, oh, yeah, I didn't think of that. I went, well, see, that's the problem when people come up with proclamations. It's got to be doable. And he goes, well, how would you do it? I said, well, doing a minute more every day, that's a good idea. When you get to 20 minutes doing that, I want you to stay at that for a couple of weeks. Go, and I said, if you miss a day, that's fine. If you want to take off 2 days a week, that's fine. But just get to 20 minutes. And after you do a couple of weeks of 20 minutes, you go to 25 minutes and do that for a couple of weeks. And I said, you could keep adding 5 minutes every couple of weeks until you get to an hour. So at the end of the year, if you do your math right, you'll get to the end of the year, you'll be doing an hour, and you don't have to do it every day. If you did it 5 out of every 7 days, you're good. I know you like to go to the camp, you travel, you do this and that. You got a grandkid now. You want to go visit your grandkid. I know your son has equipment at his house because I made him buy it. He's got a rowing machine, he's got a bike, and what have you. So you could go right to your son's house. Maybe you missed travel day, but the next day there's a bike there, right? Maybe he will do this. Maybe he won't. I don't know. Right? I don't know. You never know with Mark. He has trouble sticking with anything except drinking beer. He's very good at that. Very good. And he loves himself a cigar. You know, it's like, you know, you could get a habit just like the beer and the cigar. You can maybe cut back on those habits a bit and pick up on the doing more bike. Right? So we'll see what happens with someone like Mark. And maybe we'll get him on the show again. Anna and I have him on Monday from time to time. People love when he comes on. And we can ask him where he is. Right? So that will be the program. Questions, Chris? You look at you got a big question.
How do you know it's my question face and not my poop face? They look very similar. I think that makes perfect sense. If somebody's stuck on the food side of this, is it as simple as one meal, right? Because on the exercise side of this, you're talking about it's one workout, right? Like just get on and do 10 minutes or just show up at the gym.
Right.
Is it on the food side that easy, or is there something else that we need to think about there?
There's a lot to think about on the food side. You know, people have addiction to food. I'm just going to be honest with you. As a matter of fact, speaking of addictions, let me turn my espresso machine because we're getting ready to do VIP in a minute. I want to make sure I can get an espresso going before we start. Yeah, food addiction is much more difficult, right? And I get that. So a lot of times, you know, look, I'm a sugar addict, but I'm able to have sugar a few times per year. You know, Christmas, you know, what have you. Wine with my sister-in-law, what have you. I'm okay with that. I've somehow made peace with that, right? So not a big deal. But it's taken me years to get to that. And knowing, okay, I'm going to have this at Thanksgiving. I'm going to have the pecan pie, what have you. And as soon as I have it, have an espresso. Speaking of getting an espresso, have that espresso right there and drink it and maybe go for a walk, right? And Jesus Christ, everyone else is falling asleep and relaxing and everything. Walking is not broken, right? And I know that if I sit there and just don't go do something, I'm going to have a problem. I know this past year when I was at Mark's house, right? Thanksgiving, I had the pecan pie. I also had some carbs because my mom made artichokes, stuffed artichokes, and I ate a few of them. And now I'm watching the, I want to say it was the Kansas City game. Was it Kansas City on that day? We watched a couple of games. Thanksgiving this past year.
Yeah, they played Thanksgiving, I think.
It was, maybe they played on Friday, but maybe we were watching the Eagles or we're watching a game. And man, that food was talking to me, right? I wanted more pecan pie. I was like, oh, I'm sitting here. Everybody else is enjoying a beer and they're eating more shit. And everybody had stuff they're still eating like cattle. And I'm like, man, I sure in the hell want another piece of that pecan pie. But you know, they say one is too many, 1,000 is never enough, right? So as soon as that game was over with, or as soon as I knew the game was in the bag and the whole thing, I told Serena, I said, yeah, I'm taking Bonzo for a walk. And she's like, wait for me. And she grabbed, you know, Trixie, and we went for an hour. We just walked outside and just went for a nice long walk. I had to get it out. I had to get it out of my system. Was I walking to try to walk off a meal or something? No, I wasn't even stuffed. I don't do that stuff myself thing. I had to get out of that house where everyone was still overeating, right? All of my relatives, my parents, they're still gnawing down on shit. Hey, would you like some ice cream with that? And I say, oh, Jesus Christ, they're breaking out. Italians are nuts, right? I had to get away from it. So coffee, going out for a walk, I figured out a way to get away from it, right? And that's all you got to do. You got to find ways around it. Otherwise, you're going to fall right in the middle of it, right? It's not a shame to get knocked down. It's a shame to stay down.
Vinnie, you were talking about failure being the thing that ties entrepreneurs together, right? And whether this is the fitness side of this, the health side of this, the diet side of this, it really comes down to that FQ, right? Not FU, FQ, that failure quotient or the resilience quotient, right? Which is, it's not a shame to get knocked down. It's a shame not to get back up. And how ready are you to fail? And especially if we're talking about the food side of this, I'm going to be honest, you're going to fuck up. It's going to happen, right? Yeah. Like you're going to eat something you shouldn't, or somebody's going to offer you something, or you're going to go to your family's house on Black Friday. It was the Black Friday game, Kansas City this year. And you're going to eat something that's not on plan, right? That's not NSNG, or that puts you into a downward spiral. The trick to getting over that and to getting unstuck is to realize that you've done it, accept the fact that you've done it, and move on. And I think food and exercise are the two places where no one seems to think that that's acceptable, right? If you talk to anybody who's ever gone to insert word here, anonymous meeting, right? Alcoholics Anonymous, whatever. That's literally built into the system. They understand that you are going to fail. But we don't feel that way with food. We don't feel that way with exercise. And I think we need to acknowledge that we're going to fail, or that we're going to let ourselves down, right? We're going to set maybe a slightly unrealistic goal at first. And it's not the fact that we didn't achieve that goal, or that we fell short, or that we fell victim to the delicious looking pizza or the amazing looking pie that somebody made for us. It's about knowing that, accepting that, and figuring out, to your point, the ways of coping is not the right word, but the ways of moving past that. And change of scenery, getting up and walking away from it, that works very well. Not having it in your own house works very well, right? So if we can understand that those things are going to happen and start to build our own set of tools, you don't have to get up and go for a walk. You don't have to have an espresso at 7:30 at night if that doesn't work for you. But there is going to be something that will pull you out of that spiral, that will pull you out of that environment and put you back in a place where you can look at it rationally, say, yeah, I had a piece of pie. It was probably worth it. Now, how do I move forward from this? Well, it's the next meal or the next opportunity to go to the gym.
Right. And look, I'm going to read something from someone that sent me a text. This is someone I've done a lot of consults with. Anna and I talked about this on this past Monday's show. You can go back and listen. But she wanted to know about the Quest tortilla-style protein chips. That's what they're called. Chili lime. And I read it on Monday. You know, it's the first ingredient is protein blend. We don't even know what that means, but it comes from milk protein isolates and whey. The second thing is vegetable oil. She knows how to talk about not eating vegetable oils, including sunflower, canola, and or soybean oil. And then it goes right into cornstarch, natural flavors. We know that what's in that, psyllium husk, and on and on and on. All the things that I tell people to stay away from. You know, we have the likes of Nina Teichos coming on this show talking about seed oils and all the crap, and Kate Shanahan and all these different doctors talking about how horrible this is. And I wrote back to her and said, the ingredients are horrible. There's several types of seed oils. There's cornstarch. I wrote all that back to her. Here's what she wrote back to me. But it's only 5 grams of carb. No, it's not. That's the lie on the front of the package. And then here's the part. It beats chips. Okay, no, it doesn't. I can argue that it's worse than chips, right? Meaning potato chips.
At least with chips, you know it's not good for you versus eating something that you presume is good for you until you read through it, right?
Right. But then, you know, so she's trying to find a way out. And here's her reasoning. And I'm not jumping on her. She knows I'm never jumping on her, but I think her words are how other people feel, right? She goes, work is stressful. Life is stressful. I need something to crunch on. Popcorn is out. Chips are out. I'm not eating everything they offer at work. So pretzels, candy, cakes, etc. This helps me. Also, I finally got to 200 pounds after being 270 pounds. There's a woman, by the way. She's dropped down. I'm very proud of her. She's dropped down from 270 down to 200. I'm very proud of this woman. But guess what? We now got to get you from 200 down to 160, and then we got to talk about it when you get there and get you lower. You're not there yet, right? And doing these type of things, I get it. She's looking for a crutch. these messages are things I get all the time. I wrote back to her, congratulations on the 200 pounds, wonderful, actually, blah, blah, blah. And then I go on and give her a long explanation as to why she can't do what she's doing. But she wants a crutch, right? She's cashed that chip in already. There is no crutch for her, right? She's got to move on. She's got to find a way to move on. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think it's very easy, and especially with food, it's very easy to fall into that trap, right? Hey, 5 grams of carbs is better than, and I'm looking at Lay's oven baked, right? 26 grams of carbs. But also that is potato and oil versus 400 ingredients. And so it's not just about the carbs, right? It's about everything else. And we need to understand that we can't just look for a replacement. We have to look at a change. And there's lots of things that are crunchy, right? If somebody's looking for something that's crunchy, a handful of almonds would go a long way, right? You can make cheese crisps. There's lots of things that you can do to satisfy that crunch that you want without having to rely on something from...
Pork rinds are crunchy. There are 10,000 ways to get to crunchy without eating Quest chips. Chris, we're going to make that the final word because we have VIP to jump right into here.
Yes, we do.
And so, folks, we're going to tell you more and more. I'm very happy that I got the first part of this done. Now there's a lot of editing that needs to go on. It's going to be a shiny product. This is not going to be some cheap put together. I'm going all in to make this look right and to be a quality product. Chris, I would like for the next week, because I'm not going to talk about this again next week for a long time, but I would like to know about some of the top programs out there and what people are charging for them, right? And then maybe we could come up and maybe the audience will start helping us figure out what it might be worth to them, right? So, I want to basically crowdsource information on this. So find those groups that are going, hey, if you don't make $200,000, we don't even want to talk to you. You don't count for us. No, just like with our vitamin company, I call it the Toyota of vitamins, right? We don't make the Mercedes or the limo or what do you call it, the Rolls Royce of vitamins. We could charge those prices, but we don't. We make the best vitamin and we charge the lowest possible price. I call them the Toyota or the Honda of vitamins, right? I want to do the same thing with this. I want to make the Toyota of fitness programs. This is the best fitness program you can get. I'm not going to charge you Mercedes prices. I'm going to charge you Toyota prices where you get a really, really the best product out there at the lowest price, the lowest possible price, right? So, by the way, our vitamins, they're all in stock still, right, Chris? Look at us.
So.
Look at me and you. Look at me and you.
And there's more coming, which is crazy.
If I knew firing a group of people and taking it over myself would have worked, I would have done it a lot sooner. I'm just saying. I didn't know. I kept getting lied to. But now I'm running this company. Again, you fail at something, you figure out how to do it right. And everyone is coming back. For the first time in probably 2 years, we're not getting hate mail. We're getting people saying, thank you. I'm getting my magnesium again. Thank you. I'm getting my multi again. Thank you. I can't believe my D. We have the D. All the ones people love. People are buying the coffee again. People stop. The funny thing is we were never out of coffee. When people were like, oh, he's not selling vitamins, I'm going to stop buying his coffee. But purecoffeeclub.com is still rocking and rolling and is bigger than ever. And we're coming back because something else that happened before I did some firing. We stopped doing Explorer Series, something people loved, Chris. We got Explorer Series back, right? We're doing that again, right?
Yeah, I have a meeting about it tomorrow morning.
Yeah. So we're bringing it all back. We're making vitamins great again. We can't turn that into anything. Make vitamins. Nah, you can't put two.
Nuvka.
Yeah. Mufka.
Mufka.
Yeah. All right. So go check out all that. You know, before you go to Amazon, go to VinnieTortorich.com, click through the banner, puts coal on the fire, gets my train down the track. What should we end with? Huey Lewis or Rocky? What would you like to end with?
Let's go out with some Rocky.
I was going to do Huey. All right. So on behalf of Chris Shaffer, my name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living.